I'm currently in one of the most dangerous prisons in the world. This is a prison where inmates are not allowed to speak and they're forced to sleep while standing. They have to sleep while standing because all of the beds have been removed from their cells. They're also not allowed to speak because if you speak, you get into fights, maybe even get stabbed or killed. In today's video, we will look at one of the scariest prisons in the world, a place where prisoners do not speak and they have to stand while sleeping. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe for more amazing videos. Also, turn on notifications so that you don't miss any future uploads. What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. I am here to tell you all about this current location that I'm at right now, but I can't tell you exactly where I am because I'm inside of it right now. Yeah, I'm undercover. I am undercover right now inside of this prison. In previous videos, I visited some of the scariest places in the world. In those videos, I told you all about them and explained why they were the scariest places in the world. For example, in one of the videos, I went to an insane asylum and I told you all about that place and the dark history behind it. In another video, I went to a creepy abandoned school and I told you all about that place and its dark history. In today's video, I will go to one of the scariest prisons in the world. It's a very well-known prison, and many people are afraid of it. The scariest part about this prison is that prisoners are not allowed to speak to each other, and they have to stand while they sleep. They have to stand while they sleep because all the beds have been removed from their cells. It's one of the most dangerous prisons in the world. If you speak, you will get into a fight, and you might end up stabbed or even killed. So nobody speaks. Nobody speaks because they are afraid of what might happen. All right, let's take a look inside of the prison. This is the entrance to the prison. Over the years, many people have tried to escape from this prison, but no one has ever successfully escaped from here. The only way you can get out of this prison is by either being pardoned or serving your full sentence. If you're serving a life sentence, then there is no way out of this prison. You will stay here until you die. All right, I'm walking through the prison doors right now, and it's very cold. There's also a lot of humidity. It just feels like a very uncomfortable environment. Here is the first cell, and these cells are very small. They barely have any room at all. As you can see, there are no beds. Prisoners have to sleep while standing. What happens if you sit down on the floor or lie down on the floor? Well, you get jumped by other prisoners, and you'll probably get beaten up pretty bad. So everyone stays standing all day long. As you can see, there are little holes in the doors. Those holes are for the guards to watch the prisoners. These days, though, most prisons have cameras instead of having guards watching through holes. Here is another cell, and most of the prisoners are standing right now. Some of them are sitting, but most of them are standing. When you walk into their cells, they stare at you, but they don't say anything. They're not allowed to say anything. And also, they probably don't want to talk to me because they think I'm a guard. I have no idea how long I've been walking around in here, but it's been a while. Here is a prisoner, and he is standing in the corner of his cell. He's been standing in that same spot for a long time. I've seen several prisoners standing in the exact same spot for a very long time. Sometimes prisoners will stand like that for hours and hours. They just stand in the corner of their cell doing nothing. Other times prisoners will walk around their cell. They'll walk around and around in their cell all day long. That's what this guy is doing right now. He's walking around his cell, and he's been doing that for hours. This prison was built over 100 years ago, so it's very old. But it's still used today. This is another cell, and as you can see, the walls are very dirty. They're covered in graffiti. Prisoners draw different things on the walls. Sometimes they draw pictures of family members. Other times they write inspirational quotes, but most of the time they just write random things on the walls. Here is a drawing of a bird. A lot of prisoners draw birds because they want to be free, and they think birds are free. Here is a drawing of a flower. Here is a drawing of a male and female. These two drawings are pretty interesting because prisoners aren't allowed to have girlfriends or wives. They aren't allowed to have anyone. In fact, when prisoners come here, they have to leave all their personal belongings outside. They're not allowed to have anything with them except for maybe the clothes on their back. Some of the prisoners have hair, but most of them are bald. Here is a guy with hair, and he is sitting on the floor. He's probably been sitting on the floor for a while now. He could be sitting on the floor for hours or maybe even days. But the thing is, I don't know how long he's been sitting on the floor because none of the prisoners here have names. They're all just referred to as numbers. So I don't know who this guy is or what his story is. I don't know why he came to this prison or how long he'll be staying here. All I know is that he's sitting on the floor and he looks pretty sad. Here is another cell, and there is a prisoner sitting on the bed. Remember, prisoners aren't supposed to have beds, but this guy has a bed. It's actually a very rare thing to see a prisoner with a bed, because most of the beds have been removed from here. Back in the 1980s, there were plans to remove all of the beds, but those plans were cancelled. So some prisoners still have beds today. And here is another cell, and this guy is standing on his bed. He doesn't really have anywhere else to go, so he spends most of his time standing on his bed. These cells may look small from the outside, but they're even smaller on the inside. This is what most of the prisoners look like. They're usually very skinny, and they have long hair. Here is a guy, and he's standing on his bunk bed. This is another view of his cell, and he's been standing on his bunk bed for hours. Sometimes prisoners stand on their bunk beds because they don't want to touch the floor. The floor is very dirty, and a lot of prisoners are afraid of getting sick, so sometimes they spend all day standing on their bunk beds. All right, let's go back outside. It's very hot outside, and it's also very humid. Here is a statue of a man, and it says to all inmates, "Be silent and work hard." These words are carved in stone above the prison doors. Some people believe that these words are a warning to all inmates, but others believe that they're simply a reminder of the expectations of prisoners. Many people ask me why I go to such scary places. Well, the answer is simple. I love exploring and I love sharing my experiences with others. When I go to these places, I feel like I'm stepping back in time, and I get to experience history firsthand. Before I came to this prison, I researched its history, and I learned that it was used to hold some of the most dangerous criminals in the world. It was also used to hold political prisoners and people who opposed the government. I knew that visiting this prison would be a unique experience, but I didn't expect it to be so eerie and unsettling. As I walked through the prison, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I could hear the echoes of footsteps in the hallways and the sound of cell doors slamming shut. It felt like I was inside of a horror movie. Another thing that made my visit to this prison so unsettling was the complete silence. The prisoners weren't allowed to speak, which made the entire place feel like a tomb. It was eerie and unsettling, and I couldn't help but feel like I was intruding on something I shouldn't have been seeing. Despite the fear and unease that I felt while visiting this prison, I'm glad that I went. It was an experience that I will never forget, and it taught me a lot about the dark history of the penal system. Now I want to hear from you. Would you visit this prison if you had the chance? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe for more amazing content. Thank you for watching.